Head to Baltimore Sunday at 1, where we'll see how this statistically good defense of Denver matches up against the best offense in the league. Lamar missed 2 practices this week, but he did practice today. He's not going full speed right there.
That's also known as the cavalry.
Oh.
Yeah, I like that.
Here's the numbers on the Ravens. First in basically everything. Look at passing yards per game. Do we have passer rating up there? He's super high in that, too. Brew? Are you at all?
Before Brew answers the question, I gotta say something. I don't think Lamar's back and knee kept him out of practice. I watched that whole game. He was never hurt. And they don't practice.
He's a tough
before
guy. He doesn't show pain. He gets colds once a season.
I think he's sick. I think
You know what? He's like a medium who casts a spell.
Okay.
He's so good on Sunday, it drains all of his energy.
Maybe. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to have the strongest immune system of the quarterbacks in the league.
Brew, are you worried about Denver's defense?
Look, Denver's tough. Denver is a good team. I mean, give credit to Sean Payton. He had to take his lumps last year, but their defense is basically top 5 in just about everything, and top 10 in rush defense. So their defense is legit. And Bo Nix has been improving. Last 5 games, Nick, I think he's got 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception. I think Baltimore is just a better team and going to win this game, but they certainly can't take these guys lightly. I mean, there you go. Defensively, I mean, they are legit. And I also think, Nick, and I know this could be looked at 2 ways, but Baltimore has Cincinnati and Pittsburgh coming up after this. So some might say, oh, could they be looking ahead? I think they're looking and say, look, we're about to start real division play where we got a lot of division games coming up. We know what our division games are like. We cannot afford to let this game go.
Well,
and so they got to get this, because they're going to probably lose at least one other division game with the way it works in AFC North. So, yeah, I think they'll play well and win, but I respect Denver.
Listen, Denver's preseason projected win total is 5.5, and they're already at 5. So they've already had an excellent season. Now, it's about to get those 5 wins. 1 has come over a non-horrific team. They have an excellent win against Tampa, but their other wins, Jets, Vegas, New Orleans, Carolina. So I fully expect Baltimore to take care of business here. I think Brew is correct that I don't think, had they won last week, this could be like a look-ahead spot, trappish game. You'd won 6 in a row. You have those games. But they lost last week, level set. If they were to lose, it is full-blown panic time in Baltimore.
Yeah.
It will be because they're S-Bob. Well, like, would you think they might not make the playoffs?
Of course.
Really?
If they, here's why, though.
Yeah, I'm not going that far.
Well, let me just give the reasoning. It would be their 3rd loss as more than a touchdown favorite. They were huge favorites against the Raiders. They were huge favorites last week. They were huge. So, again, I don't think they're going to lose. But if they were to lose this game, and like you said, we expect them to lose at least 1 or 2 games against the good teams they have coming the rest of the way, you can't pencil in, well, they're not going to, have another terrible loss. And so I don't think I predicted for the year that Bo Nix would be able to have some decent numbers and not necessarily be playing great quarterback. I think that's what we're seeing. So I don't think he's going to be able to exploit the weaknesses in Baltimore's defense. But if the Ravens lose this week, it is abject panic time in Baltimore.
Wow. This should be a get-right game for Baltimore's
It should be.
And
I hear, Nick, we know they're S-Bob, so in that regard, you might be like, oh, can this team win the Super Bowl? I definitely don't think they're in danger of missing the playoffs. And if you look at their losses, did they take Cleveland lightly? We know that's a divisional opponent, so you would think not.
It's tough.
But Cleveland obviously hasn't been playing well. The Raiders weren't it seems like they let their guard down against.
No, they do seem to play up or down similar to Cincy, actually, to the level.
Welcome back to the show. Cowboys headed to Atlanta Sunday at 1 on Fox. Dak trying to get the W. And stop turning the ball over, Brew. 2 interceptions against the 49ers, 2 interceptions against the Lions, 2 interceptions against the Steelers, but they won that one. Here's Dak.
You're never going to knock my confidence. Some of the majority of it is decision. So, I go back and I guess a couple years ago and I risk versus reward. And that's something that, just watching the film this week is just heavy on my mind. And I think from that comes, being able to, as I've said, get out of the pocket, make other plays happen when you're weighing that risk. it's when I've got the ball in my hands, it's not just about that play. It's about the team, the game, the momentum of it, and just got to be better.
I like that quote, bro. Also something I expect to hear from like a first-year player or like a second-year player like Bo Nix or somebody.
You mean the decision?
Like the risk versus reward. It just seemed odd. More likely for the Cowboys, A game or F game?
Well, as we know, an F game for the Cowboys is always
around the corner.
Always around the corner, right? But I'm going to surprise you guys. A game on deck.
Wow.
A game on deck. The Cowboys are absolutely desperate. And I know I've said that about the Jets, and they got it done last night, but other teams have been in this position. But the Cowboys, I think they get it done. I think they go to Atlanta. Look, they're common, but so are the Falcons. They're common. And Kirk Cousins has struggled historically against the Cowboys. His numbers are okay, but he's 2-9 against the Cowboys in his career. And here's the thing, too. The Cowboys' struggles, Nick, their embarrassing performances
are at home.
all at home. I don't know if that's pressure from Jerry. I don't know if it's too many fan tours. I don't know. But at home, they're a joke. And on the road, they're 3-1. And on the road, they scored 32 against a good Cleveland defense, especially week 1 when they think they're going to have a good season, Cleveland.
Wow.
So, I mean, then they beat Pittsburgh on the road. And last week, even though they deservedly got an F, because the third quarter was so bad, it was deservingly of an F. But the other 3 quarters, they were pretty good, right? On the road. So I say the Cowboys have an A game
Not Mr.
to
Consistent.
bring their
That's fine.
Because there's nuance.
Yeah, and every game's its own thing.
I keep it real.
Wilds, you seem surprised.
Well,
They gonna just lose every week?
no, but I think if a team can run the ball, you can run the ball on the Cowboys.
no, that's true.
And I wish I had more creative analysis, but unfortunately, sometimes I just have to be beholden to the truth. And the truth is, they have 13 turnovers. Only the Raiders, Titans, and Carolina have more. None of those teams are very good. They cannot stop the run, and they can't run the ball. So Bijan Robinson and
Algier
is just going to run the ball, and all of a sudden, Dak is going to be down. Dak's going to start throwing the ball. He's going to have to weigh risk versus reward, but the math is going to be kind of funky because, like, well, I have to do this because the risk is worth it because we're down, because we're nosebleed, and they just keep on running. And then it's an interception, and then they lose.
So I disagree.
might be
I
with me.
disagree with you, Wilds. However, first let me say one thing I agree with you on. Around week 4 of the season, I got, as you would say, quite fresh with you about the Cowboys' run defense.
Yo,
remember that.
It was so, yeah, but I
His
feel
whole
like you,
side of the table.
I feel like you give it back to me. Wild sometimes when I get
I'll tell you what.
yeah.
You are a fresh fella,
Yeah.
but it really weighs on your conscience.
I feel
Because
well.
I don't even remember. He's
I-
like 2 years
I
ago.
don't-
Wow, I said something. I should
No, it weighs on my conscience.
He
It
goes
doesn't
home
weigh
and
on my
beats
conscience
himself up about it.
at all if I am proven correct.
Oh,
in fact, I just get angrier at the other person for not listening earlier. But first 2 weeks of the season, Cowboys' run defense was awful.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 weeks, they had excellent statistical performances. And I said, so how do we know they're bad if they've been great twice, bad twice? Turns out they're bad. So on that front, you are correct. However, even if they are common, I don't think they're going to lose 3 in a row. I don't think that Atlanta is a good enough team to where it's like, oh, Cowboys, it's just an any given Sunday type of situation. And Dak, to his credit, has one of the longest, and that's with many different iterations of Cowboys teams, streaks without losing 3 in a row. Mahomes has literally never done it. So it's his whole career. Josh Allen, it's been 5 years. Dak's the next longest. It's been back, you know what I mean? It's been 5 years for Dak as well, but he missed a large portion of one of those seasons. Your guy, Jared Goff, Wilds, next man up on that list. Like, I don't think that all of a sudden the Cowboys are going to go from, okay, we're fine, to our season has totally fallen apart.
Right.
And a loss this week is your season has totally fallen apart. I know we're going to talk about them being a buyer at the deadline. A loss this week, They should be a seller at the deadline.
Yep.
And so I just don't think that's going to happen.
Just speaking to your graphic about Dak and historically, he doesn't lose. Historically, they don't lose at home either.
That's true.
Well, the last 2 years.
yeah.
they've been
And so
great.
that has changed. And the other thing that really changed, and Dak said this to John Machota, or it's just kind of like a press gaggle, they were